Good morning, everybody. Jen Green here from Property House. I'm just going to take a few seconds here. I want to make sure before I get started that I'm set up correctly here on Facebook so I can see questions that are coming in. I'm receiving a text right now, which I just want to make sure. Okay, nothing that I needed from Katie. Like I said, I think the last couple of times I haven't been able to see myself on Facebook, and so and see the questions and stuff that everybody has. And so I wanted to take a second to see if I could set that up. Okay, yep, here we go. Now I can see myself. Okay, awesome. So that is helpful. All right, so everybody who is watching, thank you. I actually was sitting here thinking about this the other day, and it has been 9 months since we started doing these lives. And that seems kind of crazy to me that it's been 9 months that we've been doing these lives during the pandemic. And reason being is because, oh, good morning, Jason. Morning. The reason is because obviously we've all been sort of stuck in this holding pattern, I guess, to sort of see what's going to be happening. And so I wanted to just take a moment and reflect on that, because I think, I mean, it's been 9 months and it just seems crazy to me. But I want to thank all of you for watching and sticking with us during this and making comments and asking questions, hopefully using some of the resources that we've been posting on here, because I think it's really important that we all as a community come together and support each other in the ways that we can. And housing is something that I know very well, hence the reason that, you know, I've come out here and talked about it a lot. And I think this week and this month is a very important live today, because I mean, a lot of the, eviction and foreclosure moratoriums are coming to an end on a national level at the end of this month. Now, there are some things that are a little different in Minnesota when it comes to some of the moratoriums, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But for those of you who are watching, are you prepared? I mean, because there's so much information out there now too and I think false information of how things are moving forward. And so I just, like I said, I'm here to maybe create some clarity. I am not the guru of any of this stuff, but I think just sharing this information, what I know, I think can maybe prepare you and have you perhaps do a little bit more research if you're in a situation where things are tough, or you have a forbearance, or perhaps you haven't been paying your mortgage, or you're looking to sell your home, buy a new home, lots of different things to talk about today. So again, thank you for joining me this morning. And before I get started, like I said, if this is your first time watching, my name is Jen Green. I am part of Property House Partners. We're located in the Twin Cities Metro in Minnesota. And what we do is help people out of tough situations when it comes to their homes. I mean, plain and simple, if you're looking to sell, and you are not able to sell on a traditional market, if there's a lot of repairs, if you inherited a home, if you're losing your home to foreclosure, maybe perhaps an impending divorce, incarceration, any of these situations where you're looking for a quick sale of your home for cash returns, we're able to help. Now, yes, I am located in the Metro, but it doesn't mean that I exclusively work here. I have connections throughout the nation of folks that I have personally vetted, that I know well, that I would trust. Like I said, if you're not located here and you still need some help, feel free to send me a message, give me an email, whatever it is. Katie's going to be posting our information here so that you can get in touch with us. Because like I said, I may not be where you are, I'm more than happy to help and put you in the right direction if there is help that you need. All right, so starting today, I'm just going to go first. We have had peacetime in place since March that have been renewed every single month by our governor since March, every 30 days. And that was renewed a couple days ago on the 14th of December, which extends all the way through January 13th. A couple things that also happened. There was another special session that happened on Monday where there was a $216 million COVID relief package that was also passed here in Minnesota. And what it's more or less meant to do is help out small businesses. That's a big chunk of it. And then also they have put something in place that if the federal government doesn't act by the end of the month, then this will pick up. And what that is extending the unemployment benefits through April. So another 13 weeks. And so if you were receiving unemployment, you're still not working, and you're in Minnesota, your benefits will be extended through April if the federal government doesn't pick up the slack and pass something before that time. So do know that. There's $88 million in direct payments that are going to restaurants, bars, and gyms out of that 216 million. And then 14 million are for convention centers and movie theaters. And then 114.8 million are for the local economy and significant businesses and organizations, including some nonprofits that will then be distributed by the counties. So while that's very helpful, it doesn't necessarily talk about housing. Now, the eviction moratorium here is pushed out past, you cannot evict here in Minnesota until, like I said, the peacetime emergency is lifted. But know that that doesn't mean foreclosures aren't being issued. I follow foreclosure notices very closely. If you guys don't know my story, and I don't have to get into all of it, and because I think I'm actually going to really start to talk about a little bit more with foreclosures next week in our bonus week. But Dan, my husband, and I went through a foreclosure situation in 2012. Ours ended up in short sale, but it kind of stemmed our interest really in helping people out of foreclosure situations, because back then we had no idea what to do. And actually we had a realtor who ended up helping us, and then eventually an investor who bought our property on short sale, and it took us out of that mess, which was really a blessing. And so that's kind of one of the main reasons why we started doing what we do, is because we've been there, we've experienced it, and we don't want people to end up in foreclosure, because there's just so many detrimental things that can happen to you, not only emotionally and personally, but credit rating, job rating, all that kind of stuff can get mixed into there. And so I want people to be aware that foreclosures here in Minnesota, and that's what I follow is in Minnesota, are being issued, and they are happening after the first of the year. If you are in a situation where it is a postponement, they have been consecutively getting postponed. You'll see on the notices, if you ever look at them, it'll say, postpone until this date, and then again, postpone until this date, postpone. I am now seeing them actively happening in January and February from those postponements. So the thing is that if you are already in foreclosure or were in trouble before, and you have not filed for a forbearance with your mortgage company, you need to either call your mortgage company and see what's going on, or be aware that at some point over the next, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, perhaps you're going to be in an active foreclosure process. And what I mean by that is because that those people who have filed for a forbearance, that has been, a 365-day extension, more or less. So giving folks a year because of COVID, right? In the middle of the pandemic, they've extended and allowed people forbearances, right? With a lot of really great different options at the end, where normally it would be, you'd have to pay in a lump sum. That's not necessarily the case. You have a lot of different options. You can choose that one if you want to. But again, it's up to you to choose what works best for you with your bank or your mortgage holder to determine like what the payoff would be for that. But the thing is, I want to make this very, very clear. I have gone on multiple foreclosure appointments in the last week or two, because we have been contacting people and saying, your foreclosure was issued, you know this is happening. And a lot of people are like, no, it's postponed. And I've said, no, the actual date now is after after January 1st, this is happening. We need to come up with a plan. I literally just had an appointment yesterday where he said, no, it was, issued in July, but it's postponed. And we called the bank and they said, no, January 11th is the date. If you want a short sale, you need to get your stuff in as soon as possible. So please know that these things are happening, and foreclosures are being issued. It's definitely not a wave, that everybody's talking about yet. However, it is possible that it will be coming in the first half of the year, because like I said, that eviction moratorium is being lifted on a national level. Again, it's going to depend on what your state does. If you have peacetime emergencies or different things like that, I can't quote that. I just know in Minnesota, the eviction moratorium has been postponed through January. So I know here we're not able to evict. I think it's also important for you though to check and see, and Katie's gonna post some information. And for some reason, my page that I'm looking at on Facebook is, let me see, it was frozen. Okay, now it's not anymore. So now I see. If you guys have questions, you can post them there. Hi, Bren. I just saw that you said good morning. So yeah, so you guys will be able to, like I said, post questions there if you had it. Katie's also going to be posting some information about how to find out if you're renting, how to find out if your mortgage, or excuse me, if your landlord's mortgage is backed by Fannie or Freddie, And then also if your own mortgage is backed by Fannie or Freddie. These are the stipulations that went through before that. These are the loans that are being allowed to be put in forbearance. Private loans, it's up to the private loan to decide if that's what they want to do. So I always encourage you to keep an open line of communication with your bank or with your mortgage lender, because they're the only people who are going to be able to help you in that situation if you haven't already put yourself into forbearance. So I wanted to say too, the reason that I'm talking about this so much today is because I was reading quite a few articles of, the last month or two. There's been a lot of people talking about, oh, there's this huge wave of foreclosures coming. It's going to happen because of X. It's going to happen because of Y. And I just wanted to sort of summarize some of that for you, because again, this can be very confusing of, I don't understand maybe why there's going to be foreclosures, or no, they're not issuing foreclosures. And so here it is. So CoreLogic, they posted something and said that the 150-day delinquency rate has now hit its highest level in 2 decades. Now, again, this is also including forbearances. So people who are in active foreclosures and also people who have done forbearance. So that number can be a little bit confusing. And I think also throws people kind of into being worried. But again, this is including everybody. So people who have missed their payments, and then also people who are in forbearance. Now, that's up 6.6% from, and it's now at 6.6%, excuse me, of the people who are at 150-day delinquency, which is at this time last year was 2.9%. So again, does that include all forbearances? It does. So that number is a little, like I said, misleading, I think. But the point is that it's still a very high number, and it's still a possibility that more folks are going to be going through foreclosure than we think. And so in terms of the breakdown, I apologize for looking down, but I want to make sure I get these numbers right for you. They're showing at 30 to 59 days delinquent, it's 1.6% of all mortgages. 60 to 89 days delinquent is 0.8% of all mortgages. 90 plus days delinquent is 4.3%, and 100 plus 50 days delinquent is 1.2%. And so again, the active foreclosure rates that we're seeing right now are quite low thanks to, the forbearance options. But with a lot of these folks, right now, homeowners still facing income or job loss, right, or unemployment, the looming mortgage payments, could pose obviously a really serious financial threat to folks come March. And so I think a lot of folks are looking at what's going to happen in these next few months, because we don't know if there will be an extension. I mean, a whole year of forbearance, I think, these banks also too, their reserves are going to be very, very low. And I think, as we've all seen, banks don't typically lose in these situations. We saw this in 08 and 09. And I wanted to read a quote to you from Frank Martell. He's the president and CEO of CoreLogic. He said, quote, "Forbearance programs continue to reduce the flow of homes into foreclosure and distressed sales, and have been the key to helping many families who have been particularly hard hit by the pandemic. Even though foreclosure rates are at a historic low, the spike in 150-day past due loans points to bumpy waters ahead." And so we've got 3.6 million Americans right now who are in an active forbearance. And according to some numbers that were released back at the end of November, I think it was last week, this was from Adam data. It was Louisiana, New York, New Jersey, Mississippi, and Florida have the highest statewide shares of delinquent loans right now. And so I want to look at that is because some of these states are very dependent on people traveling there for business, which makes sense to me of why those would maybe perhaps be that way. Because a lot of people there could work in hospitality, and a lot of those places, hotels, restaurants, all of that has been closed. And so that points to why that's making sense. And then also in some of the lower income areas, right, we're seeing a lot more of this happening. And that's typically where these waves of foreclosures happen first, is those that are hardest hit in our lower economic brackets, because a lot of the times it's in more service industries that they're working in, and those are the ones that are shut down right now. And so at metro levels, right, getting a little bit smaller scale versus, looking at states, Miami has 12% of all of the loans of those that are in forbearance, 11% are in New York, 10% in Houston, 8% in Chicago. So I think that's kind of telling as to what may come, February, March time, when these forbearance times are supposed to end. Now, again, will it be extended? I don't know. Perhaps, we don't know. But also remember, we're going to have, a new administration, as far as I know, that is going to be coming into office in January. I don't know what the plan is for that either. And the changeover of that, we're going to have to see what ends up happening. But the other thing to keep in mind too is that our inventory of homes right now is still extremely low, right? The sales aren't happening as fast as usual. And again, it's the time of year, November, December, early January is kind of sleepy typically for home markets, or I shouldn't say sleepy, but a little bit slower, and prices tend to go down. And that has happened. But the thing is that our interest rates are still at historic lows. Just an example of one of the big banks at Wells Fargo, I know a 30-year fixed rate, excuse me, is at 2.5%. The 20-year fixed rate is at 2.25%. A 30-year fixed rate is 2.5%. A 30-year fixed rate VA loan is 2.25%. A 20-year fixed rate is at 2.5%, and a 15-year fixed rate is at 2%. I mean, those are historic lows, which again makes sense of why the housing market has been so crazy, right? And the numbers have been so inflated, because the inventory is super low. The interest rates are super low. So you have a ton of people who maybe didn't think about moving before, but are like, well, gosh, I'm going to move now because my payment can maybe be the same, but my house could be worth X amount more, right? And so you can get a bigger house, right, for more money, but your payment will be lower, right? So that sort of makes sense for some people. And then those others too is like, well, it's the height of the market right now. It's time for me to sell. And so they're trying to do that. If that's the case, again, like I said, it's weird because of Corona. A lot of folks haven't wanted them in a house, or they're just waiting because we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, here's the thing. Can I predict the future? Absolutely not. All signs are pointing to there being another wave of foreclosures, in the first half of 2021. I truly hope it doesn't happen, because I think we all saw, if you were around in 2008 and 2009, you saw what ended up happening. There were so many families that were displaced, children that were displaced, families. I mean, like I said, we were in that situation too, and felt it. And so I please heed the warning, right? That if you are in an active forbearance, I would start figuring out, now, and start planning now for what that plan is going to be should the forbearance period end. Because if you are not working, or you're living off unemployment and it's not covering your costs right now, you could be put into an active foreclosure after that if you're not able to make your payments. And so, yes, they can take that lump sum over the last year, and you can make payments over the next year, or add to it, or put it on at the end of your loan. But again, if you don't start making those payments after the forbearance period ends, you will be in an active foreclosure. So do think about that. It doesn't just, like I said, you have to have a plan set up with your bank. So please contact them. Say, make sure that your forbearance is active. Likewise, if you haven't been making payments during this time, and you have, been given a pre-foreclosure notice, and it keeps getting postponed, at some point in 2021, it is not going to be postponed anymore, and it will be active. And so again, contact your mortgage lender if you can, to see where you're at in that, because I'll tell you guys right now, a lot of the times when I am calling people to see how we can help, they have no idea what I'm talking about, or they have no idea that they have an active foreclosure happening, because unfortunately here in Minnesota, you're given a 45-day window before the foreclosure happens. And typically homeowners are not given any notice until 30 days before. And so that 2-week time period, a lot of the times, is when I'm contacting folks and seeing how we can help. And unfortunately, I am sometimes the first person that is telling them of this. So please keep that in mind. Keep those lines of communication open. Next week is our bonus week. I think I'm going to start talking about, and maybe just have a session completely dedicated to this, because again, that's going to be, our last time before everything kind of changes over into 2021. And so I'm going to really take some time and discuss the foreclosure process and what that looks like here, because I think that will be super helpful. If you guys have questions between that time, at any time, please feel free to contact me. You can send me a direct message. You can send us an email. Like I said, I think Katie's going to be posting our information there below. Always ask and reach out. And if I don't know the answer, I will find somebody who does. I mean, I am resourceful. That is the point, right? Is we are here to help folks out as much as we can. And so if that comes to that point, like I said, please contact us. Also, you know, another way to contact us or see what we're doing, if you're interested in the work that we're doing too, it's always fun to take a look. One of our houses is going to be probably going active today, so I'll probably post some pictures on that as well so you guys can see it. It was the house that we did a punch list on a couple weeks ago, so I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys. And then also, you know, if you are having issues and, like I said, want to just contact us in terms of, you know, other things that you're having, Katie's going to post a landing page there for you. You can check that out too, where we're able to help you out of situations where if you're needing to sell quickly, like I said, you can put your information in there. It's all kept confidential. And we can talk to you that way and we can help you out with that. So like I said, you can follow us on Instagram for a lot of the pretty stuff, right, of our before and after pictures. On Facebook, we're also doing it too. On our Property House Partners, you can follow us. That page also has a lot of really good information for homeowners. And so I thank you guys for joining me today. If you have any questions, also, if you're not watching this live, please feel free to contact us that way. Like I said, through the comments on here, I'll be able to see them and get back to you in a timely manner. So I thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. We'll see you next week. Like I said, I'll probably be getting more into just a little bit more about foreclosure since the end of the month, it kind of, like I said, that forbearance time ends. So I look forward to seeing you guys next week. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you next time.